You know, Lindsay, as I mentioned, we're doing this whole series all week long on the future of America First. We just had Stephen Miller. We've got another Miller coming up, Jason Miller, in just a moment. And it's also Melania Trump's birthday.
Yes,
so
happy birthday
for birthday wishes to the former First Lady.
Yes. But we do want to continue with this series and bring in senior advisor to President Trump, as Sean mentioned, Jason Miller. Jason, welcome back to the show.
Lindsay, good evening.
All right, well, we just enjoyed speaking to Stephen Miller about America First Legal and this breaking lawsuit that they just filed. You know, there's a lot of these groups that seem to be popping up from former Trump officials. What role is President Trump playing in these groups in terms of support and giving his seal of approval?
Well, excellent question. All of these fit into this broader America First platform that President Trump was able to implement over the last 4 years, and we want to see keep going, hopefully until President Trump gets another term, but I'll leave that to President Trump to make a decision. But everyone who's been out there that's been blessed and been approved with this, whether it's Stephen Miller, I know you're going to have Brooke Rollins coming on with America First policies. You'll have Michael Glassner coming on with the America Alliance, and also Dr. Ben Carson, our great former HUD secretary, who will be on the show this week. So really a great lineup. Everybody has a certain role to play. And so Stephen was just on talking about the legal fight, how we're going to go and take it to the Democrats, working with the attorneys general all around the country, as we have Michael Glassner come on, talk about how we're going to bundle a lot of money together, both on the policy and political side. We're going to beat the Democrats at their own game. So everybody has a certain role to play. But the folks that you have on this week, Lindsay and Sean, these are the folks that President Trump are supporting and wants to see them continue this agenda.
You know, Jason, Lindsay and I were down at Mar-a-Lago a couple weeks ago. We got to see the president for a bit. He looks fantastic. He looks like he lost some weight. He was in great spirits. He was really relaxed. He was joking around. It really seems like he's holding court down there at Mar-a-Lago, and it has become the center of the Republican universe. There was a story out the other day, and we all know this, that Mar-a-Lago tends to close down in May, and all the action will shift to his country club in Bedminster. Is that going to be the new Mar-a-Lago come summertime?
For the summertime stretch, yes, he'll be back up there. I think he's going to head up in about 2 weeks or so, probably head back down to Mar-a-Lago maybe in October or, maybe roughly in that time period, which, by the way, I got to tell you, I asked President Trump when I saw him last, how much weight have you lost? And he said about, 15 pounds, maybe a little bit more. I'm like, well, what are you doing that I'm not? Because I think I've put on 15 since you left the White House. You've lost 15. He said, you know what the secret is? He's like, a little bit of golf and a whole lot of endorsements.
Yeah, well, he should bottle that, because that's definitely working for him.
You know, Jason, you mentioned if the president will run or not. I know that's the big question that everyone is wanting to know. But in the meantime, there are people who are running for different political office, whether it's for president or for Senate or for the House. How do they go about getting the Trump approval, going through that process?
Great question. So as far as doing an event at Mar-a-Lago, it's not quite that complicated. I mean, if you have a member that's willing to sponsor you, you want to go to the events director at Mar-a-Lago, you can rent a space. But the one thing is want to make clear is that just because someone maybe has an event at Mar-a-Lago, that does not necessarily mean that President Trump is going to be endorsing them. Now, obviously, anyone who's having an event there, they need to be Trump friendly. They need to be, obviously, we wouldn't let, the crazies from the ACLU or something hold an event at Mar-a-Lago. But everyone who's having an event there is someone who we consider a broader ally. But the president is going through and really taking a close look at these races. Obviously, he's endorsed folks like Mo Brooks, Max Miller, running for Congress in Ohio, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, all these folks who I've seen at their fundraising events down at Mar-a-Lago. So as Sean pointed out, Mar-a-Lago is the center of the Republican universe. Now, for the summer, we'll be up in Bedminster, outside of New York, but imagine folks will be doing some vacation and other things, and then we'll be back down to Mar-a-Lago in October or so.
It doesn't sound like you've got it too tough. You've got to go Mar-a-Lago in the winter and Bedminster in the summer. There's worse places that you could spend your winters and summers, Jason. I don't feel too bad for you. But to Lindsay's question, let me ask this. Let's say that you can't hold an event at Mar-a-Lago. You're running for Congress out in, Kansas's X district, right? How do you prove in the primary that you're the Trump candidate? Because I've always maintained the Trumpiest candidate is always going to win the primary.
Another excellent question. So one of the things that we are doing is we're collecting all of the essentially folks who want to receive the endorsement from President Trump, just reach out to one of us on Twitter or on Instagram, something like that. I'm at Jason Miller in D.C. Reach out, make a connection. We talk with candidates about how much money they're raising, what kind of team they're putting together, and most importantly, what are the policies that you believe in? What's the value set? Why are you running for Congress or running for Senate? And we have a whole political team that goes through and we do interviews, we kick the tires, and then we make some recommendations to the president. But as we know, ultimately, President Trump will make his own decisions on who he's going to endorse and how that's going to come together.
Okay. Hey, I want to shift gears real quick. You remember you and I were working the transition, and companies were throwing themselves all over President Trump, showing that they were going to stay in the U.S., expand their jobs footprint. One of those companies was Foxconn out in Wisconsin. It talked about expanding its footprint in the United States. It is now, for lack of a better word, kind of walked back that promise. It doesn't seem to be coming through on its promises. What do you think needs to be done about that?
Well, I think where that's going to start is probably ultimately with the state of Wisconsin. I mean, a lot of those tax credits that were done were with the state of Wisconsin. But, you know, on the Foxconn front, I wasn't in the administration at the time, but Sean, you and I both saw some of these talks happening during the transition. I always got a bad feeling about that one. I mean, we do have a domestic company in Qualcomm, a domestic chip maker, and I get really worried, especially now that we see what's happening with COVID and with the whole supply chains being disrupted around the world. I mean, if China or one of these foreign countries decides to throw up the barriers, or we have to go in and essentially decouple our economy, we have to make sure that we have those tech companies, the ability to produce the rare earth minerals, all those different things. I mean, this is a national security issue. So I can't say I'm completely surprised on the Foxconn front. But I do think the state of Wisconsin needs to put the smack down.
Yeah, we asked former Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin what he thought. He issued a statement that said, quote, "We made it clear years ago that if Foxconn did not meet their targets for jobs and capital investment, there would be no tax credits. The original deal was based on pay for performance. Despite wild numbers thrown up by some in the media, Foxconn has not been given any money from the state of Wisconsin." But I agree with you, Jason. It was a complete boondoggle. These guys made a lot of promises. I think they wanted to get in good with President Trump and others, and then as soon as he was gone, they said, well, if he's not going to stick around, then we're not going to stand our things. But anyway, Jason, thanks for sharing the insight with us. Continue to give us updates on President Trump's decision-making process, and we look forward to having you back soon.
All right, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Lindsay.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.